Good Tuesday, everyone, and welcome into today's Daily Bible reading for October the 11th. Today we are reading together in Job chapter 6. Job chapter 6 is on the schedule. Let me go ahead and get the text up on the screen for us. And we are looking today at the first half of Job's response to Eliphaz. Eliphaz gave his first speech in chapters 4 and 5, where he laid out the reality, at least his perceived reality, of how things work, the fact that good people are rewarded and bad people are punished. He looks at Job, he sees the horrible circumstances that he finds himself in, and it is obvious to him that he's obviously being punished for something that he has done, that God's hand is heavy upon him. And he lays out in chapters 4 and 5 what he has seen, what he has investigated, and how he knows exactly how these things are working out. He knows exactly why things are like they are. At least he believes he does. Well, now Job has the opportunity here in chapter 6 to answer Eliphaz, and he is going to, Job's going to do what Job was doing in chapter 3, just being very honest, being blunt, expressing the feelings that are within his heart. And really, just as he speaks to his so-called friends, he just kind of tells them, hey, you're being pretty crummy friends. You're not really helping me out very much. So we're going to see how that goes here in chapter 6. Job chapter 6, verse number 1. Then Job answered, if only my grief could be weighed and my devastation placed with it on the scales, for then it would outweigh the sands of the sea. That is why my words are rash. Surely the arrows of the Almighty have pierced me. My spirit drinks their poison. God's terrors are arrayed against me. Does a wild animal bray over fresh grass, or an oxen low over its fodder? Is bland food eaten without salt? Is there flavor in an egg white? I refuse to touch them. They are like contaminated food. If only my request would be granted, and God would provide what I hope for, that he would decide to crush me, to unleash his power and cut me off. It would still bring me comfort, and I would leap for joy in unrelenting pain, that I have not denied the words of the Holy One. What strength I do have, that I should continue to hope. Or excuse me, what strength do I have that I should continue to hope? What is my future, that I should be patient? Is my strength that of stone, or my flesh made of bronze? Since I cannot help myself, the hope for success has been banished from me. A despairing man should receive loyalty from his friends, even if he abandons the fear of the Almighty. My brothers are as treacherous as a wadi, as seasonal streams that overflow and become darkened because of ice, and the snow melts into them. The wadis evaporate in the warm weather. They disappear from their channels in hot weather. Caravans turn away from their routes, go up into the desert and perish. The caravans of Timah look for these streams. The traveling merchants of Sheba hope for them. They are ashamed because they had been confident of finding water. When they arrive there, they are disappointed. So this is what you have now become to me. When you see something dreadful, you are afraid. Have I ever said, give me something, or pay a bribe for me from your wealth, or deliver me from the enemy's hand, or redeem me from the hand of the ruthless? Teach me, and I will be silent. Help me understand what I did wrong, how painful words can be. But what does your rebuke prove? Do you think you can disprove my words, or that the despairing man's words are mere winds? No doubt you would cast lots for a fatherless child and negotiate a price to sell your friend. But now, please look at me. I will not lie to your face. Reconsider. Don't be unjust. Reconsider my righteousness is still the issue. Is there injustice on my tongue? Or can my palate not taste disaster? Job chapter 6. As Job opens up in this particular section of this writing, he begins again just with very strong honesty as he speaks about it. If only my grief could be weighed. I think that's a statement of him saying, you don't get it. I wish that you can really see the enormity of the grief and the pain that I am feeling right now. It's obvious that I'm under duress. It's obvious that the arrows of the Almighty have pierced me and that God's terrors are against me. Yeah, I know that. I get that that's the situation I am, that I am in a very difficult situation, that I am under duress, and that I am distressed by what is going on. And really the best thing for me right now, again, this is Job speaking from the depths of his lament, from the difficulty of the situation that he's facing, the pain that he's facing on all sides. If only my request would be granted. If only I'd just die, then I could escape the current pain that I'm going through. He's saying I wouldn't mind that too much at all. But he's still here. And unfortunately, so are these friends that aren't really helping out a situation too much. I think that's really what he begins to say in chapter 14 is a despairing man should receive loyalty from his friends, even if he abandons the fear of Almighty, even if I was completely unfaithful to God, even if I did abandon my fear of the Lord, I would expect you to still try to help me somehow, do something for me, at least encourage me. But you're just coming, you're just throwing stones at me. You're just saying that I've made all these mistakes and surely this is my own fault. Job's saying, you're not helping me out. Teach me, verse 24, teach me and I will be silent. Help me understand what I did wrong. Actually help me out. Say something useful. As he does not see his friends saying anything useful up until this point. They are speaking of their perceived understanding of how the world works, and yet they're doing so without knowing the details of who Job is. And that's what I want us to take away from this reading here in chapter 6, is that it can be very easy for us to draw conclusions and speak about those conclusions without knowing the full story. Again, from the perspective of these friends, they are seeing Job in his difficulty. They're seeing the aftermath of the way he has been struck down. And they're just taking what they perceive to be the way the world operates, and they're just flat out applying it to his situation without coming to understand anything more about it. They're drawing conclusions about things they just do not know. So that's a warning to us, I think, to be very, very, very deliberate and very patient and slow to draw conclusions about situations that we just don't know the whole story about. For instance, there's a Tennessee football player who was arrested a couple of nights ago. Weird situation. Him and his girlfriend were in an apartment. A inebriated person walked into the apartment, and at some point, somehow, the inebriated person was hurt. Why? What caused that to happen? Obviously, he walked into the wrong apartment. We don't know all the details of what happened in that instance. Was he threatening people? Was he trying to harm somebody? Was the Tennessee football player just defending himself and his girlfriend? We don't know. We don't know the whole story about it. So it would be inappropriate and irresponsible to just go ahead and draw the conclusion that the football player was either completely justified or completely unjustified in that situation. We just don't know. And that's similar to, I think, the situation we have here. Eliphaz and his friends don't know. They don't know the whole background. They don't know the story. We do, obviously, because we're reading this from a different perspective of having the whole story before us, in a sense, of the Lord and Yahweh and the sons of God and Satan, the adversary, and that whole interaction. But they don't know that. They just think that, well, Job, you're being punished because you've done something wrong. And Job's saying, no, that's not true. And you're not helping me out. You're not actually aiding me or encouraging me or benefiting me by just telling me that I'm wrong all the time, not knowing the full story. So let's think about that as we meditate upon and consider this text here in Job chapter 6. Being slow to speak, slow to draw conclusions, especially whenever we do not know the full story of any particular matter or situation. Thank you so much for tuning into this reading on this Tuesday. Hope you have a great rest of this Tuesday. God bless you in all that you do. We'll be back at it again tomorrow as we're reading from Job. We'll be in Job chapter 7 tomorrow, October the 12th. Tomorrow's a Wednesday. We'll be reading from we'll be reading from Job chapter 7. See you then. Take care and God bless.